my interdependence theory presentation. So before I get into post-COVID, I want to go into pre-COVID and during COVID interdependence theory. So pre-COVID interdependence theory was two or more interacting actors who have influence over the outcome of each other, and those actors can be individuals, countries, companies, etc. And then interdependence theory can be used to understand relationships and workplace behavior, as well as other things. Part of the theory is the given matrices, which is the actors' available behaviors, choices, and outcomes in specific situations. Um, Actors don't make choices just based on those given matrices. They make their choices based on a transformation process where the choices and preferences are adjusted based on criteria such as social norms and individual motives, and that leads to the effective matrix development, which takes preferences into account as well. And then those outcomes do not have to be tangible, they can be intangible. And then another part of the theory is comparison level and comparison level for alternatives. So comparison level is the expectation of a particular level of outcomes, and then comparison level for alternatives is the lowest set of outcomes an individual will accept rather than accept a different relationship or situation or outcome. And this can stem from personal experiences or observing others in similar situations. So again, pre-COVID interpersonal relations, this creates distinction between given and effective matrix and the transformation between them. The extension of control, which can be partner or joint control, and that is when they have the power to give or withdraw desired outcomes from the other partner. Relationship-based considerations, they consider the behaviors that impact long-term continuation of relationships, and they may also take into consideration how they believe the other person will, or the other actor, I should say, will act and why. So during COVID, interdependence theory, social norms have changed, whether that is maybe two people that wouldn't have moved in together, but because of COVID, ended up cohabitating, loss of job, lockdown, work from home, and even those essential workers. The given matrix has also changed. There's less available behaviors, choices, and outcomes. And so I'm hypothesizing a higher importance to those behavior choices and outcomes. So a higher threshold for that alternative. And then the comparison level for alternatives. Again, there's fewer alternatives, and that can lead to higher collaboration and satisfaction, or less collaboration and feeling stuck. And so in that feeling stuck, I'm also wanting to discuss domestic violence and the COVID pandemic with interdependence. The textbook discusses how satisfaction is low, but commitment is high due to the perceived alternative lack of options in domestic violence with interdependence theory. Domestic violence incidents increased more than 8% during COVID in the United States, and those numbers vary by countries and things like that. And then because of this and the lack of alternatives, that left individuals and children stuck and cut off from their supports. And then realistically, it did eliminate the exit choice of the harmed partner. So post-COVID interdependence theory, I'm also hypothesizing that some of that during COVID interdependence theory may bleed over into the post-COVID world. There does need to be more research in external forces that impact actors in the interdependent relationship, such as stress, new social norms, and then things out of actors' control, such as death, illness, and again, global pandemics. An article I found by the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, which was COVID-19 Distress and Interdependence of Daily Emotional Intimacy, Physical Intimacy, and Loneliness in Cohabitating Couples. They looked at stress exposure and subjective response to those stressors. They found that there were increases and decreases in relationship satisfaction during the pandemic, and they hypothesized that the subjective distress related to the pandemic caused divergence in the relationship function, not just the stress exposure was the reasoning for that. And to test that, they looked at interdependence in cohabitating couples, and their reports of daily loneliness and emotional and physical intimacy, and they found that COVID-related distress in the female couple was associated with decreasing in her own physical and emotional intimacy, but both her and her partner's loneliness. And then just further consideration for research, this theory that I came up with, I guess, is not internationally applicable because my lived experience is in the United States as an essential worker during COVID. And then I just noticed throughout the research that I was finding that there needs to be further research on LGBTQIA plus people. It was always like the male actor and the female actor when it was talking about relationships and um, social relationships and things like that. So there just needs to be more research on different varieties of people. And then those are my references.